Oh, it's Ugly Dolls. Simultaneously that thing that nobody really remembers, and yet, looking at the footage, it seems like something we're just all so familiar with. I mean, regardless of the title or any real information on the actual storyline, you can already tell this is just a shallow, generic, trend-hunting kids kind of film. But of course I'm gonna get all into it anyway, because that's my life now. In fact, oddly enough, when searching my name in YouTube's search bar, Ugly Dolls is a thing that already appears. I guess it just makes too much sense for someone like me. So for those of you that are blessed to be unaware, Ugly Dolls is a 2019 animated musical film dragging the likes of Kelly Clarkson, Nick Jonas, Pitbull, and Robert Rodriguez again into another shameless cash grab that's naturally not given them favorable reviews. It's hopping on that bandwagon of trolls, spliced with the theming of animated kid toys like Toy Story, or with the unique spin of making it all about being ugly. Oh, so obviously ugly. Let's see how terrible it can really be, huh? Alibaba Pictures, huh? I guess that explains the immediate blandness of the content, marketing to that extra billion tickets that need a very set of rules to be viewable to. How thematic for a film about mass-produced factory toys to be made in China. So we get to see a little bit of how the factory works, with magical machines doing all the processes and Ugly Dolls being cast to the side and into Uglyville. How did those mistakes ever happen? Forget about it. This is a musical, remember? So of course our main protagonist immediately gets out of bed singing about how today could be the day, and how they want to be chosen for a kid, all the while being a tad insecure about being
short and stubby, and my gosh, look how much you weigh!
A nice message for the kids right up front, huh? Anyway, this pink protagonist is Moxie, and she's always enthusiastic. And when seeing the mayor that day, he explains that the supposed big world and children being available is all just stories. Oh, and then the song just keeps going for a while. All that matters in life is apparently partying, and it couldn't get better than this. And then, like a regular occurrence, a new arrival is incoming and they look alright. It's Lemonhead from before, now named Wedgehead. And that kind of brings up the elephant in the room with this film. I mean, obviously, it's so much of an elephant I have to mention it this early on. You can already tell the theming here is going to be all about ugliness and perfection, but all of these characters aren't really ugly. They're just abstract shapes. And even then, they're textured to be soft and fluffy, perfectly rounded in their curves, and at most they're missing, like, what, an eye that's charmingly shown with stitch lines instead? We'll get to more of this a little bit later on, but man, it just completely defeats what little purpose this film has.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Is that a joke? That's the quality we're playing with here? This film's only a year old. It's not even like outdated bad jokes. It's just flat today jokes. So Ugly Dog, this guy, steals Wedgehead away to show off the town to her and us, rapping away because it's the cringy man himself, Pitbull, and this is the same song sequence still, just spread across this whole opening. But it all ends off in a food fight to check off that list to your classic boring kids film, and then literally skimming the budget by removing the entire background. Get used to this look. A 6-minute song sequence to start us off, because the creators do not believe kids have the attention span for something like this. So with the mayor concerned of Moxie getting her heart broken from her dream, this bat guy is sent in to talk to her. Meanwhile, Moxie is still singing away, with like a whole day through apparently, with a sad version of the same motif now. My god. Oh, and the sun is a ball of wool because it's got to be on brand, and the moon is half a button. Is it always crescent, or like does it grow more button pieces to be a full, I think too hard about these films. So Red Bat Guy here chats over tea with her the next day, and Moxie worries over reality since there's
With no evidence, no proof.
And while I'd love to poke a joke about, your classic religious debates and all that, I legit found this online.
My imperfections are something to be celebrated. I mean, that is straight brainwashing propaganda. Satanic.
Sure, we can all agree it's bland, ironic, and a waste of content, and certainly not something that kids should be exposed to as the only form of entertainment they should be given. But did you ever think this film was the Antichrist? It's corruptingly LGBT, or that it's clearly connected to Satanism? This take is far too spicy for a film as plain as this. Yikes. It's just because they said it's called The Big World, and that it's, almost an afterlife. but it's just a dumb kids film. But anyway, also, there is proof in this world, Moxie, because there's the obvious hole in the wall where people come from. But man, this film just doesn't really think. So the whole joke of this scene is that Batboy here doesn't actually have any advice and just kinda wings it. This drags on for a very long while, and none of it is really written the smartiest. But with Moxie dedicated to the idea of leaving, because of T leaves means she must leaves, she soon scarpers across town and takes all of her friends with her, and they literally just join her immediately with no convincing or anything logical really going on. I guess this film really wants to get going. All these characters have next to no substance. I'll let you guess which one's the case. And hey, you've made it this far, so do consider subscribing. Only you can help balance out my unsub ratio count. And if you like more of me, I was trying to go for the ugly theme this time with the sort of stitchiness and the hair that I honestly just don't know how to style at this point. But if you do like more of me, we've got all sorts of other links. We've got a Twitter, we've got an Instagram, there's a Discord, and we're starting streaming at the end of the month. There's a Twitch tag you can go to now, but I'll tell you more of the details about the actual schedule closer to the time. Or just click on it and you'll see it as the offline thumbnail. But hey, thanks for visiting if you do. If you're just watching me fumble in front of whatever I've chosen as the background image, thanks for that too. So they hobble to that hole, and there's almost a gimmick here with Bobo here having Animal Crossing pockets for convenient tools, but even as a Deus Ex Machina device that totally is baiting for something to happen in the future, it's never properly used in the film. It's like establishing something and then doing nothing with it. So after a lot of fluff, the gang eventually reach that old factory. Cue the opportunity for another generic pop song that really kind of masks the fact that if you actually looked around, this would literally look like something out of a horror movie. I mean, are you kidding me? Just look at all these freaking creepy humanoid doll things. But now they make it to the Institute of Perfection for doll type number 12, and they all look humanoid. Because if we focused on any of the other doll types, this film would realize how out of touch it was and how unugly all the ugly dolls are. Oh, and also it's another song sequence. Ugh, skip. And we get more exposition about how this world works. It's basically quality assurance for perfection. But first, there's a scanning machine, because the one from before wasn't enough, apparently. It's kind of creepy how it just sort of slaps on an entire skin. But I like the gag of them all being given the role of model.
I'm an individual, exactly like the rest of you.
So everyone freaks out on their ugly designs, and Ugly Dog gets to flirting. Why is this a thing? And naturally, we have our Mean Girls type of trio, all British of course, and the fourth one, who's totally not a friend and conspicuously has an American accent. Forgetting that, it's time for some Lou exposition. You know exactly what form this is gonna take. Looking like a cross between Draco Malfoy and that Fallout mascot, perfectly Aryan with glutes as tight as mud, singing about everyone's ugly blemishes and really railing into the ugly dolls, except they're upset about this when they're literally from a place called Uglyville. Ugly Dog literally named himself Ugly Dog. This is all just stupid. And though it's a point that Lou is pointing out the most minute of flaws, even on the ugly dolls, what's the issue? The dog has one eye that matches his design, Wage has a perfectly normal face, just fangs, and Moxie has just one tooth issue and doesn't get her head thing. It's just hair! Where are the more impactful blips, like a bigger nose, crooked teeth, crossed eyes, or even a cleft palate, you know? The message of the film is taken so mildly that it effectively has the opposite effect, as you just know that this whole design was perfect up for the production of the film. So everyone's deterred except Moxie, who's determined to take on the training for perfection anyway, and Lou accepts, learning there's a whole town of uglies.
Because it doesn't get better than this.
That's the name of our song.
Oh boy. So Lou returns home and sings some more about wanting to crush them all for his empire. Don't expect a real reason why. The uglies get their home in a shed, perfect for them, but their escort Mandy is less ecstatic as she accidentally leaks the news that she needs glasses to see. She isn't perfect.
Lots of dolls wear glasses in Uglyville. Even Five-Eyed Steve.
No they don't. They specifically don't wear glasses. I've checked for most of the characters and none of them have 5 eyes either. But sure, teaching kids that glasses aren't ugly is at least faintly on track, though you still shouldn't really expect to see them much at all this film. Mandy keeps them hidden pretty much the whole runtime. At the same time, the Mean Girls trio are actually totally spies now, sneaking into Uglyville. The jokes through all of this are just abysmal overtalking, but I like the whistling tune. It reminds me of the good old days of Mario Kart Double Dash. And one unneeded scene about one of them stealing from the others to prove they're really bad guys later, and they kidnap Ox, the mayor.
You'll never catch me.
Good thing for that random rake.
Huh, I like that one. Training time, and actually I like the concept here. Lou's talking all about avoiding messes, and though kids like to get messy, for the toys, if you get messy, you get the washing machine. And each time you come out a little less perfect. All of this is genuinely true, and kind of interesting to hear this perspective. And then, of course, cue the montage. Naturally with some mainstream cover as well. It's a shame because I almost kinda can get into this world if it wasn't so basic. Also, Ox has now made an arrival, and Lou has already met him. Dun dun dun.
They know each other?
He just said, Lou, keep up.
And though the Uglies are now physically prepped up after one montage later, they want to work on their visuals. Good job Mandy comes in for just the occasion, somehow, luckily. I swear half this film is just music sequences, no wonder I'm getting through this quickly. And this one's gone so far to literally have no background the entire time. It could be slapped onto some kind of Snapchat advert and it would fit the bill. And now they're pretty, right? Now with fake teeth, outfits, and hair that makes them look more nerdy than they did before. Oh yeah, and also, Mandy's still not happy about herself in the mirror. And after confronting Lou, he still tells them that they're ugly dolls underneath and that they'll never pass the final gauntlet, the kind of final exam. And Ox is now here to explain. So it turns out Ox once appeared here by sheer luck and was actually friends with Lou, and after being outcast by everyone else, Lou helped in his escape, where Ox learned that they are in fact all rejects chucked away by humans beforehand. Uglyville is the detour to a better life. There's some plot holes here, but we'll touch on that in a bit. Though Lou tells them to never return, or it's recycling for all of them. How friendly to his good old friend Ox, huh? And Uglyville is devastated, and you can tell because the saturation is down. Well, at least they got one relatable point.
Say, yo, wake up. Or don't. It doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, why is there a unicorn alarm clock guy in this town? You'd think he was a main character, but I guess he's just cute bait. We saw him earlier in as well, and I like, what? Also, like, that's the epitome of not ugly. He just has one eye. Oh, God. Anyway, the sadness doesn't last long as Mandy shows up with a pep talk, mentioning people and thoughts that she physically cannot know because she wasn't there for those moments, and ending it off with, what do you know, another song number. Now taking us into the void of space because this film really hates having any real logical backgrounds. It's one of those be yourself songs. I don't really need to explain this one. And then the Totally Spies kidnap them both, and Lou catches them in the tubing, now with a plan to chuck them into recycling. Without Moxie, no one will be determined to come back. Also, this pipe is now vertical. It wasn't when Ox went in, I think, but well, whatever. Meanwhile, all the friends are feeling guilty and the mayor chooses to talk to Moxie, discovering that she's gone. How do they work out what's actually happening to line up the dots? Through a fax machine that I don't think we've even seen before. It's just panically reprinting the scene. This is one of the weirdest Deus Ex Machina things I think I've ever seen. Why did the film choose this route of anything? Anyway, Moxie and Mandy are now in recycling. It's time for your Toy Story 3 furnace scene. Now with a conveyor belt that they're clearly running faster than, and the whole tension of the scene is stopped before it's even started, as everyone in Uglyville immediately makes an appearance, wedging themselves up to pause the carnage, which is actually kinda new and smart, and then the entire town of Uglyville was somehow notified, willing to help, and made the time to coordinate and show up too to pull them out of the oven. Well, that's literally all the filmmakers could come up with his pocket gimmick. Just 2 jokes and no real story weight. Nice. And as they're dragged out, the machine just inexplicably shuts down, because that's how machines work.
I'm lucky you got that thing on your head. Whatever it is.
It's just freaking hair! And so they decide to make a stand, fighting for their flaws instead. It's time for the final gauntlet, and they all crash the party. And for some reason, Lou just accepts this. He says he'll run alongside them. Alright, he just has to make them lose. And so it begins, getting a real Monsters Inc. Toy Story reality vibe, but now with a robo-dog.
It's alright, guys.
Slick dogs got this.
Oh god. So the whole theme of this whole sequence is Lou betrays someone into a real-life obstacle and the uglies are the one to save them on the way. Everything about stains and blemishes aren't really being tested here for the final exam, and now I think about it, there wasn't really another lecture other than messiness. Damn. This is just an obstacle course to show off some faint concepts, like, you know, being sucked up by a Hoover. That's a first. And as Lou attempts to win for himself rather than sabotage, as he's said before, one final hurdle arrives. A robo baby, with Lou being the one to kick the baby to unhand him, and as everyone is ready to finish, Moxie is the one to turn around for the now crying robo baby. You can see where this is going. Moxie is the one to calm the baby and Lou escapes by himself. Is this red circle a bad thing now? Why is Lou upset about this too? Anyway, it's revealed that love and compassion is a doll's true purpose, and so everybody wins. So then how has training worked for every past generation, and how did nobody notice that the training was useless when they succeeded? What a waste of everybody's time! And Lou is confirmed to have failed, not because he didn't actually show any love and compassion, even though that is clearly the direct reason for why he failed. It was because he didn't have any love and compassion, because that's his personality, but it's because he's a prototype, not meant for public consumption. Always the guide. Now that's actually a pretty cool, alright concept for a villain of the story. He's angry that something as ugly as Ox can make it to the big world, and yet we never really see any more of his tragic story and how he became more evil over time. On top of that, he joined this exam knowing that he was going to fail because he's a prototype, said that he was going to try and sabotage everyone else, and then at the end just started running for himself when he knew it wouldn't work anyway. And he's already heard this a million times that it's about love and compassion, so he never tried to do anything loving and compassionate, like brain cells. Where did they go? I mean, I guess they're toys, they literally don't have any, but come on. And even forgetting the mistakes of right now, we saw Ox as his friend from beforehand, but never how he turned or how he actually disliked Ox in the first place. It's all just mentioned, and that's boring. And as a final snap, Lou tries to break the portal to the big world, trapping everyone forever just like him. And so a kind of conflict fight begins. You gotta have another post-conflict in these films. Everyone, I guess, kinda gets a spotlight moment in the fight, though they're also really just background fodder, especially Lucky Bat. He literally hasn't done anything for like an hour. And with Lou defeated and given the best punishment possible, the portal is revealed to actually be broken until they put it back together again. Because, you know, you can do that with glass. And yes, this was a song sequence as well. Skip ahead in time, and Uglyville and Perfection have been merged. It's a happy ending song about how it couldn't be better. Toys can now enter the human world and come back at night to hang out. I don't know where the portal back is, but apparently it exists. Actually, they kind of skip over everything to hit that ending, but I mean, is that really a surprise?
The time here is so funky. I mean, how long did this take us? What is this, a day, a month? What, 83 minutes?
Whatever the case, Moxie can finally find her kid, though they're briefly worried that she won't come back at night to join them because, I don't know, they wanted to have more doubt. Of course she's gonna want to come back. Like, why would you put this conflict? It doesn't make sense. Whatever. And then there's one scene left. The world of the toys is officially behind us. We've seen the last frame of every other character. It's just Moxie now. And I feel this was probably what the writers felt was their magnum opus of the idea. So Moxie is dropped off in the kid's bedroom. The music gets that classical Pixar feel, and Moxie approaches the child. There's the same dog, the same notebook, and Moxie knows the rules of Toy Story to play dead around humans. The girl sees her gift, the music swells to get you all emotional, and... in actuality, the kid has the same missing tooth. That's the bit. They match. Every other emotional beat of Toy Story holds nothing to this tooth. They came up with this in 2019, and that's the best they could come up with. After all the history of Toy Story and all of their emotional stellar moments, tooth. Anyway, the credits are nice. We see each toy with their respective kids, all perfect matches, at least in design, for all the ugly kids. You know, the blind, the chefs, the always sticks their tongue outs. Okay, so the ugly part kind of drops off here, but it's been missing this whole film anyway, so like, it's on brand. And that's it! Pitbull was the executive producer, and the dog, Robert Rodriguez, was somehow roped into writing. Ice-T was there, and it's clear that they were going for some musical credits with all these stars involved, but man, it just doesn't hold the weight to justify it. Like, do these people honestly think they're gonna make the next Frozen song? Because there's just no effort to make it good. Why are you wasting your time trying to get a musical icon award when you don't put any kind of effort to make it worth it? Yeah, that's still stupid. Bland, unoriginal, easy, basic, and ironic. Hilariously ironic, in fact. It's the funniest part of the whole film, really. I'm not sure if this film ever really had potential, considering it's just another Toy Story ripoff, but at least with the messaging, there was a hint of good intentions, but boy did they really miss the mark, and considering the context of the whole industry, it's clear on that front that they were really kinda doomed from the start. But you don't need me to tell you it was terrible. From the very first frame, you knew exactly what this film would bring, and it stayed unbelievably true to that mark. What was that thing Lucky Bat said like an hour ago that I skipped over because it was a scene that really didn't matter?
Sometimes the insides of our
Films!
are hollow.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I'm an individual, exactly like the rest of you.
But hey, at least it's not the Antichrist. We got that going for us. For now, my name's been Daz, you didn't really care, and I'll see you in a bit. You know, it's kind of refreshing to actually have like a fully budgeted kind of AAA level generic crap movie, you know? Like, the more I thought about this film, the more questions that raised up. The one character with the apron's called Wage. So did she decide her own name was going to be Wage, and so she decided she was going to be like some kind of retail, restaurant, cafe, whatever she is worker the whole way through? Like, there's a lot of little things that just don't ever line up because they didn't think about it, and I'm thinking more about it than I really should. But my god. Ugly dolls. Can I get out of this outfit, please? This is really uncomfortable. Trying to be on theme. That's all. I'm the ugly doll now.